What's happening, folks? I'm just on here. Y'all got some time? I got a little time today. I want to tell a story. This story is about one of the most influential people in my life. That's my father. He has been one of not only just my biggest supporters, but he's also been a source of my inspiration, as well as just how my shape my life view. Because my father's been in a wheelchair since I was 7 years old. I'm 42, so he's been there for 35 years. How he got there is the story I want to talk about. How he got in the wheelchair is what I want to talk about. Now, I can tell this story from his point of view. I can tell it from my point of view too. Being a 7-year-old child, also from his point of view too, because when it happened to him, he was just 27. So I want to talk a little bit about the night my father was a victim of gun violence in the great city of Richmond. He was out with, one of his friends or whatever, which to this day I always had, and I've managed to let some of it go, but truthfully not all of it. A little bit disdain for this guy, and I didn't like him as a kid because I always felt like he was a rat. He didn't feel like a good guy to be around. But my dad was hanging with his friend. Again, I don't do names. That don't work for me. But my dad was hanging with his friend, and my dad goes outside. Goes outside. I think probably will smoke a cigarette or something. Or gets fresh air, whatever. He just went outside from where he was, and this guy approached with a gun and pointed a gun at him and said, "You know what it is." And I was like, "Hey man, ain't even like that," and gave him everything immediately. He's like, "Man, I got 2 boys at home." Because I had a wife and 2 boys at home. The guy said, "F you." Shot him in the neck twice. Now, this is what I can say from my dad's point of view, because I remember this very vividly when he told me. He said he heard the 2 shots, but he never felt them. He told me he did not feel himself hit the ground. He knew he was on the ground because he was looking up. And as my dad lay on the ground, after they had just shot him in the neck twice, a guy stood over top of him, pointed a gun at his head. All my dad was thinking, "Please don't kill me. I got 2 boys at home." He was thinking about me and my brother. And the guy pointed a gun to his head, and click, click. The gun jammed because he had every intent on finishing my father off right then and there. Over a couple dollars, maybe. So my dad told me, I remember him telling me that he heard the gun click twice, click, click, and then heard someone coming and he ran. So his friend, whom I don't trust, I think he set it up to begin with. I ain't go front, and I'm gonna say it. I think he had something to do with it, but that issue's been long. That issue got long resolved, a long time ago, because how you are, how you treat people is in some cases how you go out. I'm gonna just leave that at that. But my dad was on the ground. His friend came up, said, "Oh man, what happened? What happened? What happened?" He looked up at him, "Am I gonna die?" And then he blacked out. He woke up in the hospital, and they working on a forensic list. So again, this back in the 80s, so things were a whole lot different. It wasn't like it was, medical advances were there, but it's not anywhere near where it is now. I mean, I remember thinking back to that, because I have that visual too in my brain that's been burned, etched in there. Seeing all the wires, all the tubes, all that stuff. But I remember my father told me that while after he blacked out, he woke up. He looked up at the doctor and asked the doctor, "Am I gonna die?" And he blacked out again. Then the next time he woke up, this part get hard for me, because this man also became very close to me too. He saw our first pastor. Again, I ain't gonna do names. If you know, you know. He saw him and asked him the same question: "Am I gonna die?" He looked at him and said, "No, you're gonna live." And that's when my dad actually was able to speak more than just those words. And I love him dearly, but he hadn't shut up since. Yeah, that gets me. That part always gets me when he told me, and when I remember it, because that moment could have been beyond tragic, but my father did live through it. It left him a quadriplegic. And I know most people think paraplegic people in a wheelchair paralyzed from the waist down. No, my father's paralyzed from the chest down. So he didn't have full use of his hands, no use at all of his legs, but he didn't have full use of his hands and his upper body. But I've never seen that stop him from doing anything. And I ain't talking about anything physical either. He ain't climbing no mountains. He ain't doing none of that stuff, because that ain't him. He's like, he said, "Why put yourself at unnecessary risk? That's stupid." That's his biggest word. Like, that's so stupid. Why do that? But what I've seen him be able to do, as far as raise my brother and I, as far as being able, if you're in the Richmond area and you know about the Southside reunion, you know the mayor. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the mayor. So what he's been able to do with what he's given is astonishing, because it's a reflection of you can use your mind far better than you can ever use your body. And if you use your mind effectively and you treat people right, people don't mind helping out. People don't mind doing it for you. Man, y'all listen, man. No, we was talking about my father and how, he showed so much of how you can use your mind even though your body's not capable. Something that I'll also learn from him too, with him being put in this position by this person who just wanted a fix of a couple dollars and whatever else he wanted. I learned true forgiveness, how to truly forgive somebody, because he told me, he asked the guy, because when the guy was in prison, could he see him? Because he wanted to tell him thank you. Because he wanted to tell him thank you because that night he finally stood up. The night you took his ability to walk was the night he finally stood up. And the guy who was in jail for a plethora of other things, but it had nothing to do with my father's incident. So the guy was serving time for other stuff, but had nothing to do with that. Of course, he wouldn't see my dad at all. He wouldn't see him at all. And it's so powerful because my father truly forgave him. How many of us can say you have the capacity to forgive somebody who done something to you for no reason, with ill intent, had every intent on taking you out of here? How do you forgive somebody for that? That's where I learned true forgiveness from. Oh, that ain't all either. The guy got out. He got out not too long ago. Matter of fact, either. He got out not too long ago. And he's all old, broke down, prison life. It ain't for the faint, and you're gonna become destitute because of it. It's gonna ravage you one way or the other. And ironically enough, one of my dad's close friends, I always had my eye on. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. I still do. All right, I love you dearly, but I always got my eye on you. Just cause where you from. Yeah, it's like that. But ironically, that close friend of my father's also knew that guy who put my dad in a wheelchair. And when they got out, they hung out together and everything. And my dad said, yeah, he said, I don't mind coming to see you. The guy said, I can't face him. He said, 30 plus years, this man said, I can't face him because I did that to him for no reason. He said he was so far gone. He said, I hurt that man for no reason. I can't face him. That's when you can say you have a heart for God's people, because somebody who meant all the ill for you, can't even look at you in your face, because not only did you not deserve it, but at the same time, you became better because of it. Man, it's this, and that's just from my father's point of view. Like I said, I lived his, so I know his point of view well, and I know he don't mind me sharing it. Next up, I gotta go from my point of view, what it's like being a child at 7 years old and hearing that news right before Christmas, and you don't know if you're gonna even have that parent around anymore. All right, this is my therapy, y'all. It's heavy, and it's a heavy year so far. All right, y'all, be blessed.